Good morning, guys. We are now here at Tugu, Negara and shooting with the Fujifilm X-H2. Tugu Negara is the national monument of Malaysia. It's to commemorate the fallen heroes of Malaysia. Yeah, and this time of the morning, there's nobody else here. Well, how does the face and eye tracking of this camera work? You guys tell me. I'm walking slowly now, so it's also a stabilization test. Okay, enough of all that. Let's begin. This place is supposed to open at 7, but strangely, the gates are unlocked. Let's see if anyone chases me out. Alright, first let's start with the design and build quality of the body. There's no two ways around it. The XH2 feels and looks like a DSLR or a large mirrorless camera. It is a very interesting mode dial, which has 7 custom functions. The body has a really deep grip, which allows you to hang off the body for prolonged periods of time, and it's very comfortable to hold. But upon closer inspection, I noticed some scratches already developing on the top of the viewfinder edges of the XH2. The demo unit has only been around for probably a couple of months, and it's already developing that. The SCM mode dial was also solidly maced. So is the drive mode collar control, both of which right now require at least 2 or 3 button presses to achieve. That makes it really difficult to use during a fast-moving event like a wedding or any other event. Alright, let's take a detour and talk about the 2 lenses that I've got on loan, the 18mm and the 56mm. Both lenses appear to be able to take full advantage of the 40 megapixels of the XH2, although it is not as sharp as my RF 85 1.2, but they are smaller and lighter. How much smaller and lighter, you may ask? The 2 lenses added together is still cheaper and lighter than the 85mm 1.2 from Canon. So a slight bump in sharpness during post-processing is not such a bad thing or a bad compromise. The contrast, clarity and overall quality of both lenses are excellent, but I do see a hint of longitudinal chromatic aberration for both lenses, but that is again to be expected, as that can only be corrected by extremely expensive lenses, cinema lenses, or things that are at least twice or 3 times or more than these 2 lenses. The only issue of these 2 lenses for me is the focusing speed of the 56 1.2. It can hardly keep up with subjects on AFC, and that is slightly concerning, since this is a very expensive lens and it sorts of works like my old 85 1.2, the EF version, which could track nothing basically. Speaking about the AF or focus tracking for the XH2, it is actually not bad. Oh, and I've just switched over to the 56 1.2. I suppose you can tell. The speed and accuracy of the XH2 are both excellent compared to the XT4, although the subject tracking can sometimes lose the subject. Basically, if you were to have a human subject who closes his eyes or turn left and right a little bit, it tends to lose focusing for a while. Yeah, and I have tried tracking a pedestrian crossing the street. As soon as any car crosses the frame, basically the XH2 loses it. Okay, let's talk about the image quality of the XH2. It is excellent from ISO 100 to 800. It is a noticeable bump in resolution and clarity, etc., compared to the XT4. From ISO 800 to 1600, the noise is slightly noticeable depending on lighting conditions and shutter speed. At ISO 1600 to 3200, the noise is noticeable when you pixel peep, although I don't think it will affect much if you do large prints. ISO 6400 and above, however, is a different story. I would seriously not recommend anyone to use it unless you are okay with the loss of detail. But this kind of behavior is expected of really high resolution sensors, especially this one. The pixel pitch is, I think, is nearly the same as a 100 megapixel full frame sensor. Alright, I guess this concludes the mini review of the XH2. I've got to rush to return this to Fujifilm Malaysia. If you have any questions, please leave them down at the comments and I will try to answer them as soon as possible. Thank you and goodbye.